Hi, welcome to the virtual orientation for the 184BS J-Flight by Jayco. We're going to start the orientation on the outside of the RV, and we're going to begin at the front. The first thing that we're going to come to is your front storage compartment. In this front compartment, we will find your manual crank for your stabilization jacks. On these smaller units, they're located on the back two corners, and I'll show you those in a minute. Now as we stand up, we'll take a look at your side marker lights. Now the two front side marker lights, one on either side at the front here, you'll notice the extra wide body to it. That is the camera body set up for a optional rear view camera. They allow you to see the sides of the RV when in transit or stationary from your tow vehicle or from a 12-volt plug. Again, these can be purchased separately and installed for you by us. As we continue to move along the front, we'll make note of the battery storage area and your single 20-pound propane bottle storage as well. Also on the front, we have your safety breakaway switch. Your safety breakaway switch is connected to your tow vehicle via the loop end. In the event that the tow vehicle is separated from your RV, this pin will be pulled free at the housing, engaging your trailer brakes. I have seen it a time or two that this will get stepped on or caught up as you're doing walking around the RV or doing something near the front of the RV, and the pin will get partially pulled, and then later on when you attempt to move your RV, the brakes are engaged. So always come back and make sure that this is firmly seated into the housing. Continue to move around the front, your manual front tongue jack. Just making note of your off-door side marker light. And again, pointing out the optional pre-wired for side view camera. The next thing we're going to come to on the off-door side is your freshwater fill point for your freshwater tank. Your freshwater tank can be filled from here and drained from this point here. In the event that you're camping somewhere where there isn't a water supply, a campground or just off-grid somewhere, you can fill your freshwater tank ahead of time at home. That way ensuring you always have a fresh water supply. And this can be used, the water in the tank can be used with the water pump that is on board in order to pressurize the water system, so you can use it much like you would use your water system at home. So we continue along the outside of the RV. The next thing that we'll come to is your 30-volt plug-in. This is what you connect to your campground power, the power at home. And what you might be thinking is that you don't have a 30-amp receptacle on the outside of the RV. Because of that, we provide you with a conversion block to convert from the 30 amps to the 15 amps. Now that being said, certain items in the RV won't work off the 15 amps, namely your AC. So as we drop down here to take a look at your black water, gray water output, we'll also make note of the valve handles here and here. And while we're down here, we'll make note of your stabilization jacks. Again, on the smaller units, there are two, and they're located at the two back corners. These stabilization jacks should never be used to level your RV. They should only be used to stabilize your RV. I would recommend carrying some blocking, as if you're on unlevel or uneven ground, the travel of the jacks can quickly be exceeded. Usually I recommend 6x6 blocks. Seems to usually be adequate for everything you would need. So once you have the blocking in place if needed, and the trailer is mostly level, you snug these up to the blocking or the ground, and it will stabilize your RV properly. Now directly above your black water and gray water output, we have your city water connection. This is what you would use when you're at a campground or at home. You connect your garden hose to the city water connection and the other end to an outside tap at home or at the campground. You turn the handle, let the water flow, and it will pressurize the water system inside your RV, and you can use it just like you would the water system at your house. Next, we have the outside access point to your water tank. Important things to note on your water tank is the drain and drain cap in this case, and your pressure relief valve. Always make sure this pressure relief valve is open before you attempt to remove the drain. Also, when filling the water tank, always make sure the pressure relief valve is open. It helps air escape the system, and it means less running taps full of air before it pressurizes properly. And lastly, on the off-door side, we have the main input for the cable or satellite TV for the RV. Let's make our way along the back. And what I'd like to make note of on the back of the RV here is the pre-wired location and camera body for a rear view camera. It will work in conjunction with the side view cameras, and again can be purchased separately and installed by us if you choose. Both the side view and the rear view camera can be used with a head unit that you can have inside the tow vehicles, so you can monitor the cameras while in transit, or often inside if there is a 12-volt power supply inside the RV, you can also use the camera inside the RV when you're stationary. So we continue to make our way along the outside. We'll come to a propane port here. It can be used in conjunction with an outdoor barbecue or just a barbecue in general. It works via quick connect system. Currently the valve is closed. In order to utilize this, once you've connected the appliance via the quick connect hose, you would need to open the valve such as this. As you can see, we're underneath the awning. There are a few items under the awning worth talking about. One first being the awning itself with the awning lighting that can be switched on from inside the RV. This is your venting for your refrigerator. In order for your refrigerator to function properly, it needs to have maximum airflow through this venting, so you should keep this obstruction free at all times. Now the venting or the exhaust for your furnace is here. It does say on it that it is hot. However, when it's underneath your awning, such as it is now, and the likelihood of someone coming in contact with it is higher, I just like to make special mention that it does get pretty hot, so make sure you're not touching that. Also underneath your awning, we have the venting for your rain chute inside. Important before use, if you're using the fan for the hood, that these tabs be opened like this, and that will allow it to flap before moving, or when not going to be using your RV for a while. I would recommend closing that again. The last thing we'll talk about underneath your awning is the 120 volt power supply that should be connected to the load side of your GFCI of the RV, meaning if the GFCI gets tripped, there will not be any power here. Let's go inside the RV and see what else we can find. First thing we'll do is turn around and take a look down at the fire extinguisher for the unit. I like the placement, usually inside the door here. That way it's easily accessible whether you're cooking inside the RV or outside on your barbecue connected to the propane system of your RV. Take a look at the bed area here. There is underbed storage. It is not prop assisted. And also under here we have your propane carbon monoxide detection alarm system. When the alarm is set, you'll hear a series of loud beeps, and the light will go from green to red, indicating that there is an issue. In order to reset the alarm, you press the button above the green light there. That will reset the alarm. However, if there is an issue with the gas or the carbon monoxide or propane, you will have the alarm come back on again. That being said, there are other things that can set the alarm off. Chiefly would be any paint in the area or paint fumes. It's important that we test this system every so often to make sure it's functioning. And while the button above this green light will also reset, the alarm, it is also used to test it. If I were to press this now, you'd hear a series of loud beeps. The light would go from green to red. After the beeping was done, it would go back to green if everything is functioning properly. Usually it's recommended that we test the alarm every so often, so I usually suggest daylight savings time, or whenever we turn the clocks ahead or backwards. That's the normal convention for changing the batteries on your smoke detector. So what I would usually recommend is that you test your carbon monoxide propane alarm at the same time that you change the batteries or test your smoke detector. Staying in the bedroom area here, take a quick look and a quick mention of your emergency exit. In order to utilize the emergency exit, you push down the black tab, push the red handle over and out, bringing it fully perpendicular to the side wall of the RV. Push the handle fully out of the window, grab the red tab and pull the screen free, and you may escape to safety. One of the last things we'll talk about in the bedroom area is your pre-wired location for solar. What this means is that you're not totally ready for solar yet. You still need to purchase the panel and the rest of the system, but this RV is pre-wired to make it easier to install that system. This is the location of the wires for inside the RV for the head unit or the monitoring unit for the system. Now as we turn around here, what we'll see is your controls for the awning in and out, to bring your slide in and out, as well as the main lights for the RV and the light for your awning. Also in this area we have your indication panel to let you know the battery level, the freshwater, black water and gray water tank levels, as well as switching for your water pump and your water heater on gas or electric. Now once you've switched these on, the appliance will attempt to light. Again, you only need to use it on gas or electric, not both. But if you're lighting on gas, it will attempt to light 3 times. And if it's unable to do so, you'll see a red light or a fault light up here. If that's the case, I would switch it off. Make sure the bottles are open out front. Come back and try it again. But they are pretty good. No longer do you have to go outside and do any sort of lighting of the pilot outside. So these are all pretty user friendly. For the most part, you flip the button over and you're ready to go. As we continue to walk around the RV here, we make note of the GFCI for the unit. We briefly mentioned it outside. However, if this gets tripped, as it is now, you'll see this red light come on, and anything connected to the GFCI on the load side will be without power. So if you do find that you don't have power to a certain receptacle, not a bad idea to come here and check this and make sure it is in fact functioning. If the red light is on, press the black button above the red one to reset it. Now directly beside the GFCI we have a 12-volt power supply along with your cable output. This cable output also has an antenna booster, so it'll boost the signal from your antenna. This signal booster will, however, affect your cable or satellite connection and signal quality. So if you find that you are not getting the signal that you think you should, come in here and just make sure that this is not on. As we move over to our right here, we will see a newer style cooktop, or at least newer style in these Jayco trailers. It's a smaller 2-burner system. It fits nicely on the countertop, giving you a little bit more counter space. In order to light these, you'll see you try to turn and light, nothing happens. Well, in these ones, you kind of have to turn power on to the sparking knob, and you do that by turning the lights on. So with this blue light on now, if I turn and push it in, you can hear it clicking. I don't have the gas on at the moment, so it won't light. So in order to light the appliance, well, you need the gas on, obviously, and then once you turn it to the light position, it will automatically spark itself. Alright, we'll move a little bit more to the right here and take a look at our refrigerator. This refrigerator works off electricity or gas. and it does so via a auto setting or a straight up gas setting. Straight up gas setting is as it sounds. If you just automatically want it to be on gas and only gas, flip this over to the gas. If it does not light properly on gas, you will see these lights flash. If those lights are flashing, I wouldn't panic. Same thing for the hot water heater. Make sure the bottle is open on the front, and if it is open, turn the refrigerator off, maybe do something else, and come back and attempt to light again. Oftentimes the reason why the appliances don't light are simply just not enough gas pressure, and that's either because you just open the valves or the valve on the propane bottle isn't open at all. Now in the auto position like it's in now, you will see that it will automatically select the electricity if electricity is present. It will always choose it first. The next thing we're going to look at is your thermostat to control your furnace. If you nearly switch that over, it'll turn it on. Simply turn it on and slide it over to the position that you would like it in. That will control the heat and turn it on. In order to turn it off, you can hear that click. That is off. In order to turn it on, you've got to move past that click and then select the temperature. Give you a quick look at your bathroom. Pretty standard. You have a nice little tub here. Also the skylight is nice, adding some extra light, and your vent fan as well. One of the last things we'll take a look at is your bunk area. You'll see in this bunk area you have lots of lighting, as well as 120 volt power and another emergency exit. It functions the same as the first one I showed you. I'd always recommend anyone sleeping in the bunk area have a good idea of how to utilize the emergency exit. So if we lift up this mattress, we're gonna notice this extra piece of wood here. Now I have got it free so I can show you what is in here. And what is in here is the hot water tank and your water pump. So the inside access point to your hot water tank, we have access to it mainly for, well, fixing stuff, but more kind of everyday thing would be the bypass or shut-off valves here and here. Currently you can see they're pointing towards the tank here, so that means, or would indicate, that water is going to flow up from here, which is connected to your city water connection, flow into your water tank, and it's going to heat the water, and then that heated water will flow back here and give you heated water for the system. Now if we were to change the position and switch them to the other position, we are now in a bypass situation, and the water is going to simply flow and bypass your hot water tank. Also in this area, we'll take a look at your water pump. Like the water tank, the water pump has a shutoff on it. That shutoff is actually more of a diverter. It will divert your water either to the fill tube or to draw from the freshwater tank itself. Currently, in this position, it is set up to draw from the freshwater tank. If we were to switch it to this position, it would be set up to draw from your fill tube. Why would you want to draw from your fill tube? And why would you want to bypass your hot water tank? Mainly the answer is to winterize your RV. You do not need to fill your hot water tank with antifreeze. It has a drain on it. You can easily drain the water out. This way we can bypass it. You don't have to use 3 or 4 jugs or however many it'll take to fill the hot water tank. And you would use the diverter here to divert suction, or the pump, to draw from the fill tube, as that is how you will get the antifreeze into the system. The fill tube will go to a jug of antifreeze, it will draw from there and then pressurize and fill the system with the antifreeze. One of the last things we'll talk about is the air conditioning for the unit. It is a rooftop AC. It is pretty straightforward. You can either change the temperature settings here and turn either just the fan on or the AC on. To control the airflow, you do so via the various baffles along the side here. Before we head out the door and say goodbye, I just want to point out the stereo for the RV. It has two zones, 1 and 2. Zone 2 on the speakers that I showed you previously outside under your awning, and zone 1 inside the RV. This also offers HDMI connectivity along with auxiliary and Bluetooth connections and a USB charging port. That about does it for our virtual orientation. If I did miss anything that was important to you, please give us a call and we'll do our very best to answer all the questions that we possibly can. Thank you. Congratulations.